want to talk for a little bit about the ride cymbal and the ride cymbal pattern and 3 different ways that we can approach this. Of course, there are an infinite amount of ways that you could play the ride cymbal pattern, but right now we're going to focus on 3. First, we're just going to play the ride cymbal with our fingers. Now, I like to put my thumb basically on the flag of the stick and then open up my fingers a little bit, and notice that I'm getting a big, nice open grip here. And then what I'm also going to do is put a stick underneath my armpit to make sure that my elbow is staying pretty close into my side. What you really don't want to have happen is be flailing around with your elbow out here in the air. This is going to wear you out, and it's also going to make it so that you don't have much control over your dynamics. By putting the stick under your armpit and keeping your elbow to your side, you're really going to have control over the dynamics just by what kind of stick height you're playing with. And you'll notice that I'm trying to play with the very tip of this pinpointed acorn tip. And if I would play back here on the fatter part of the wood, we would get a fuller, bigger sound. But you want to be able to get up here on the very tip and get a very articulate sound, and you may want to play somewhere in the middle of the body of the cymbal. If you play with the back of the wood tip all the way out here, on the edge of the cymbal, you're going to get a much bigger, fuller sound, which you may want for some instances, but you want to be able to get that articulate, pinpointed, focused sound, especially if you're playing behind a piano or in a softer, dynamic context. Now I'm going to play at the edge of the cymbal with this fatter part of the tip, the back part of the tip, and you're going to be able to hear that this is a much bigger, fuller sound, which you may want, but you also want to be able to get a much more focused sound as well. So the second way that we're going to approach playing the ride cymbal is to play quarter notes, snapping the stick into the hand, and you're really just going to close your hand and snap that stick into the crux of your hand. And what this is going to do is you're going to get a much more stick wood sound on the cymbal, and the crux of your hand, the palm of your hand, is really going to serve almost as a chamber that you're snapping the stick into, and it's going to create a much more articulate stick sound. The third way that we're going to look at playing the ride cymbal is playing the ride cymbal pattern, and we're going to do this with the stroke. I cover this in Academy Lesson 24, so I don't want to go into too much detail on this right here. But basically what it is you're dropping the stick on beats 2 and 4. You're allowing the stick to rebound on the skip beat, and then you're snapping the stick into your hand on 1 and 3. Now you want to be able to play all 3 of these different ways and play them one after the other and be able to call them up in your hand at any time and be able to play these in any different situation that you might find yourself in. Again, these are not the 3 only ways to play the ride cymbal, and you may not want to do that snapping thing all the time, but you may just want to have that and work on that so that you can start to think of different ways to approach playing the ride cymbal. Once you get comfortable playing the ride cymbal in these 3 different ways, you'll want to start adding the bass drum feathered. And I do this with my heel down and just barely tapping on the bass drum. And then you want to add 2 and 4 on the hi-hat. So work on these 3 different ways of playing the ride cymbal. Also try to start becoming aware of how other people play the ride cymbal. Like I said, there are all kinds of different ways to approach this. We're just looking at 3 different ways to kind of jumpstart your awareness of how to play the ride cymbal and that there are different ways to approach it. So I encourage you to shed these 3 different ways to records. I've created a ride cymbal playlist, so you can shed to that and work on these different approaches of playing the ride cymbal. Also, once you start working on independence, I encourage you to use this playlist instead of a metronome because, again, this will really help your feel, it'll help your touch, it'll help your sound. So, yes indeed, keep swinging, and I look forward to hearing your new, improved ride cymbal technique. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button as well as the notification bell so you can be notified when I post future lessons and videos here on my YouTube channel. I would love to have you come check out StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com. I have over 20 hours of video lessons there, as well as over 300 pages of written lessons as well. I would love to have you join and become part of the SMDA community. Thank you all for checking us out. See you down the line.